Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to have so much fun because we're going to be talking about how you look and how you come across when people see you. And a lot of people think, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, that's vain. It does matter. And it is okay to be a little bit vain, but it really is very important. So please join me in welcoming my wonderful guest today, Sarah Jones-Thomas, to our program. Welcome, Sarah. How are you doing today?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. And I always love having my fellow C-suite networkers, leadership global women on because they have such great information. And it's just part of how we do business now, right? We network online, we make these fabulous connections, and then we help each other out. You know, that's just how we function. So let me tell people a little bit about you and then we'll dive in. So Sarah Jones-Thomas is the CEO and founder of Status Design Studio and Sarah Jones Custom Apparel, a fashion designer, educator, and innovator in the custom clothing genre. Sarah is dedicated to serving her custom clothing clients' needs by taking a deeper dive into who they are, what they do, and what they love. A public speaker and previously a fashion illustration professor at UNT, Sarah has over 20 years of experience in the fashion industry. Clearly, you started when you were 4. So, I love this. And I always want to find out from my guests how they got to where they are today. So tell us a little bit more about how you got here and discovered that this is your passion.
Well, I will try to give you the short version. Since childhood, I have loved clothes, getting dressed, just every aspect of the fashion industry I always really enjoyed. And I know even in kind of junior high school, when my mother was getting dressed, I would help her pick out outfits, and I'd sit in her closet, and that was kind of some of our quality time was while she was getting dressed. I had her undivided attention. So I would help her merchandise her look basically and get dressed and choose what she was wearing. But in high school, when you're choosing a degree, when you're going to go to college, they say, what do you like? What do you like? Well, I loved clothes and fashion, all this stuff, but you don't think of that as I didn't think of it as a career at the time. I'm like, that's something I enjoy. That's not a job.
And you weren't one of those big name designers that we hear about.
Right. So but really thought like, what do I enjoy? And I knew I loved clothes and outfits and just that transformational power of a good outfit. And I also really appreciated architecture. And I loved looking at architecture. It was so fascinating. It was beautiful to me. So I applied to a number of colleges that had fashion design, and one college in the entire US at the time that had both majors, fashion design and architecture, maybe which is Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. And I thought, you know what? And I did get in. It's actually a very good school. But I decided, you know what? I don't think that St. Louis is where I'm launching my fashion career from. So I was like, no offense. Like I said, it's a very good school, but I decided to go to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And loved it. It was such a beautiful campus, such an amazing environment, because at the time, and this was when it was only a 2-year school. After I graduated there, went on to UNT to get a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Just I wanted that 4-year degree. So I basically got the fashion design program twice, like from 2 sets of instructors. But I loved my experience in LA, aside from the fact that the city and the weather, everything was lovely. But there were so many people with that same interest and everything. So it both gave it credibility to me as far as that kind of thing. And then, and I just really enjoyed everything about learning all the different facets. And they focus more on, here's how you have a fashion business. Here's how you crank out design. Here's how you really get this in the stores. And it's a real, like, here's a business. And I transferred to University of North Texas, which is an art school. You know, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts from UNT. And I even remember for my senior collection, when I presented my sketches and my ideas, they were like, this is very sellable and people will buy this and wear this. This is great, but this is for the runway. So if you could make it weirder and harder, you know, which I did. I got second place best collection. The winner had denim, first place denim. I'm like, well, you can't get more marketable than denim. But so basically did all that. And I will say that my senior year of design school, I got a number of scholarships that I had applied for, and I got second place best collection at my school, Fashion Group International, also the competition where I got like first and second place in the cotton uniform category, and an honorable mention in the evening wear, like special occasion thing. And I will say the thing that was so pivotal about that, I don't say that to say like I won some awards. It was the first time for me that I felt like I'd been in class, I have all these other students, and it's like, okay, you're making A's. That just means you did the assignment. That doesn't So
but when your peers,
so it felt very validating of like, oh, maybe somebody likes what I'm doing. Maybe like actually, you know, maybe this is a good direction for me. I felt very validated for that. And definitely just, so I went to design school. When I was in LA, I worked for a designer, which was great. Came here, got a little more retail experience, and I already had some retail experience, and then worked for a shoe design company designing their handbags. And when that kind of project was over, I did consulting for an online fashion magazine about shoes, which was kind of fun. And it paid the same as my last job, but was part-time. So that
works.
So for this consulting job, but so that's when I kind of started working on some styles that I wanted for myself for events, and everywhere I went, people were like, oh, I love that. Where can I get one? All these things, which, word to the wise, if you're planning on starting a fashion business, those people are not going to buy your clothes. No. Just so you know. And I thought like, oh, well, I could. And so I went to a mentor of mine and said, here's my idea. Here's what I have. What do I need to do to wholesale this? And she's like, okay, I had 2 styles. She's like, get 5 styles, 3 different fabric ways. And then you can, present, show at market, and do start, this is what you need to do, find a showroom, all these things for wholesale, find sewing contractors and people that can fulfill the orders, all this kind of stuff. So that's what I did, and started that in October 2008.
Wow.
Which was right before a presidential election. And every store that came in, they said like, I love this. This is so great. But we're waiting to see what.
Yeah, we don't know what the economy is going to do.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking, as a new business owner, thinking, okay, which candidate winning means you don't need clothes in your stores, but
and why?
But then definitely learned more about, okay, are they buying conservatively? What's their consumer confidence level? Like all of these different things. So it really was that's where I started my business, was at the bottom of everybody's consumer confidence and different things. But it was really a great place to start, because all the stores that I was approaching, they either were doing great or going out of business. So I, was able to find, okay,
right. Yeah. And why were they going out of business, or why were they doing great?
For that. And then so started in wholesaling to boutiques. At one point, my clothing line was in over 50 specialty boutiques around the country, and had some sales reps kind of in the Southeast, and was doing very well. And then really just started going more direct to consumer, starting at about 2014, 2015. And that sort of brought me right before the pandemic, where I had gone more direct to consumer and doing kind of event selling and pop-up shop type things. And so January 2020, I was like, okay, this year we're not going to wait till last minute. We're going to schedule all these shows in advance and make sure that we have our, really our schedule set. And we did. And so of course, I think just March and April alone, we had 4 or 5 selling events canceled.
Nice.
And
Oh no. Oh.
everything.
Bummer.
We had all these things set up, so it was all canceled. And so that gave us time for reflection, because I had been spoiled on where I could make fun new things. All my collection is made here in Dallas. All my sewing contractors here. I do the patterns and source all the fabrics and all the things, which I love. Fabrics, one of my favorite things. But so really got to do that. And so I had been very spoiled before, where I could just make fun new things a couple of days before an event or something, for that, get it all knocked out, and then just show up and say, look, it's my new things. And people could see them and touch them and feel them and all this stuff. And so going from that to, okay, everything's remote, everything.
Right. Yeah. No more in person.
No more in person. So it's like, okay, so does that mean, are we going to photograph all these things? Are we going, and even a lot of styles that if it was like a limited edition fabric or something I couldn't get a lot of, I'd make a sample, but I was holding the other fabric for whoever ordered it, for which so I would have it for your size or what you were needing. And so then it's like, well, okay, do we take all the pictures and write the descriptions and do all this online thing for a dress?
Right. And okay, is it an evening type thing, and are people even doing those? All that stuff.
Yeah. The good news is that I did realize, okay, in the pandemic, and as everybody's come out, is all of my clothing is very comfortable but looks nice. You look dressed, but you feel very comfortable. So that is good, because that's on trend right now.
Right. Oh yeah, we went comfy.
It's working in their sweat. So as they start to like, okay, do I need to elevate up all this stuff? At least it's still comfortable. So I've got that going for me. But did some reflection in the pandemic, as many people did, and really said, who are my favorite clients? Who are my best clients? Who do I who do I enjoy working with? And over the years, some of my favorite clients that weren't an off the rack size had said, hey, I'm kind of a medium here and a small here.
Right.
Suggest, and I would say, oh, I'll make it for you, because I liked them and I have the fabric. And the one that they, the alternative being, can you edit this? Can you tailor this for me? It's like, well, that will fit somebody else just as is. So let's just make you another one if I still have the fabric. Obviously, if I didn't have the fabric, then I would, we could make some edits as needed. But so for 8 or 9 years, I had a number of clients that just because they asked, I had been doing custom things for them or making it. And so as I started reflecting, it was like, who are my favorite clients? Those were my favorite clients, people that were happy and thrilled that I would do this for them, and very appreciative, and they loved what I did. And just, obviously, if you're asking someone to custom make something for them, you liked it. It wasn't just on a whim, I decided I'd do this. And so those are my favorite clients that were just the easiest to work with and most appreciative. So really thought, okay, instead of, hey, you over there, you should want to buy my clothes. I was like, who is attracted to me? Who's chasing after me?
Who was your perfect client?
Exactly. It's like, let's get more of those. Like, let's get more clients that love me and I enjoy working with. Like, yeah, let's do that. So that's kind of where the offering the custom came about. So since October, we have offered customization. And so what that initially looked like was like, here's a number of dress samples, and here's 5 different necklines and 5 different lines and 5 different sleeve options, and just to show the example and then say, hey, we can do this. So if you like that neckline and that hemline, and that's the first iteration of custom, is just choosing from parts. But also, so it's anywhere from just, I love that, make it fit me, and we'll take their measurements and make it fit them, all the way to, I have this vision, or here, or here's a sleeve I love, and here's a skirt I love, and different things. How do we make this into one outfit, and what fabric would that be in? And I like that. So really, so it's been really fun. And again, it's basically, I think everybody did after the pandemic. What do I want to do? Like, what do I enjoy? And how do I make my business?
Where am I going to be most happy?
Exactly. So selfishly, I am offering custom to people because they're my most favorite clients.
I love it. And so many people do what you were doing before. They don't have a niche because they're thinking, I have to try to sell as much as I can to as many people as possible. And unless you're Walmart, that's not going to work. And even Walmart knows who their market is. And so, the more you can define, here is my perfect customer, the
Mhm.
better it is. And obviously that's going to be smaller numbers, and that's scary because people are like, but I have bills to pay. But those people then are willing to pay more
Mhm.
because they're getting exactly what you want. And, whether it's custom clothing, custom marketing, custom whatever, people are
Mhm.
willing, and then you've got the people who want generic. Okay, fine. That's
Yep.
for somebody else to work with.
Yes, exactly. And that's too, I love the topic you brought up is instead of one of the kind of things that one of the ideas that we've kind of embraced on this journey of
Mhm.
custom is offering women, and since I've done custom, I do have a couple of male clients too. So it's
Mhm.
not, but most of my repertoire
Right.
is women, but offering them kind of just a switch, because right now most people say, you know what, okay, here's whatever clothes that they need or
Mhm.
want or an event or something, and they go to the mall, to
Mhm.
stores, boutiques,
Mhm.
wherever it is they shop, even if it's
Mhm.
online, they go someplace with something in mind,
Mhm.
and they have to find something like, let's see if there's something that's close
Right.
enough to what
Yeah,
I want.
yeah. I want a blue top that, and then they settle for, okay, well, it's green, but it's cut right. And yeah.
Exactly. And so giving them that option of, you know what, you can have what you want.
Right.
It's just the combination of styles. Because how many times have you, I mean, you have beautiful red hair, blues and greens, I'm sure,
Mhm.
look, Matt, your colors and things.
Mhm.
So you're like, okay,
Mhm.
that's the color that looks good on you.
Mhm.
And you know what styles tend to be your favorite or what looks good on you. So
Mhm.
finding, again, even just simple things like finding that
Right.
combination. I mean, I bet you have gone and been like, oh, this color is great. I wonder if
Mhm.
this style will work for me. This is
Mhm.
one of my colors. I wonder if, versus having just all the pieces. And,
Right.
and also same thing, like you might see something that's beautiful, but you wish it just had a little more sleeve
Mhm.
or less
Right.
sleeve or
Or was
long
a little longer.
yes. Oh yes. All of the things.
And
There's
that's been one of the things that I have found is, I go into stores
mhm.
and all of a sudden I feel really old. Because I'm like, my legs I think are probably not half bad, but I don't need to show that much of them, not at this age.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you're right, the top is cut different. And I think especially with women, we do come in so many sizes, shapes, whatever. And, that's great if you are that size that the store envisions, which is usually what, like a size 4, a size 6, with, no curves, no, or, all these various things. And so if you don't fit that,
Yeah.
then things don't fit you right.
Right. Exactly. And trust me, on the dresses option, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm 5'11", and
Ah,
there's plenty of times people like show me, I'm like, oh, is that a tunic top? What is that? Oh,
yeah, yeah, because you're thinking, oh, okay, we got to wear, I'm
you're like,
wearing pants under
that
there.
is covering the bum. That is, yeah. So I have, and it's, I mean, even so, I've always things look shorter on me
Mhm.
than they
Right,
even
because
actually
you're just
are.
very tall and
Yes.
thin,
So
and
I
yeah,
have
you're very model. You have that figure.
yeah. And what's funny is that even when I was doing like wholesaling and
Mhm.
selling to boutiques around the country,
Mhm.
I mean, tons of my clients are like 5 foot, 5'2". I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
just
maybe a little curvy or a lot curvy.
a lot
Mhm.
curvy. Yes, a lot of my natural style that I design
Mhm.
generally is very figure forgiving,
Mhm.
flattering. I do a lot of asymmetrical
Mhm.
lines, which
Mhm.
again draws your eye,
Right.
and things like that.
Mhm.
So even though I happen to be very tall,
Mhm.
a lot of my clients are petite and
Mhm.
have and so and I really just have learned over time. It's like no, the proportions really do matter.
Right.
You can't just shorten it. You
Well,
can't.
and
Exactly.
I mean, I have friends who, bless their hearts, they're so petite, they're shopping in the children's section. How embarrassing is that?
And I'm sure they have only so many cat sweaters they can have.
Mhm, right, right. Yeah, and it's like,
Have children, they see
no.
what's out there. So
Yeah,
it's
I cannot wear Hello Kitty again. And we talk about this, but it is so important from a business perspective as to how you're coming across. And it's funny because before we started the program, I was laughing that I was underdressed because you look gorgeous, your hair is done, you've got earrings, necklace, very very lovely top, and I've got a blue polo shirt on. And it's funny because at least I got blue. I mean, my stylist told me blue, you need blue, right? And, and I was never, a slave to fashion.
Sure.
But now that I do not go to in-person meetings, it's gone downhill really fast, and I'll just admit that, and I think that's the hard part. We laugh and joke that part of the reason I don't go to in-person is that I don't want to have to put shoes on, but, it's still so easy to, and we judge people, right? When we're on calls with people and you see people who look nice and then the people who have their scruggy, dirty t-shirt on, you're thinking, which one am I going to spend my money with? And,
Right.
And it doesn't matter what they do. I mean, that really is. And when your first impression is somebody on a screen, that makes it even worse because we're not looking at how they carry themselves, the whole outfit, all of those things. We're just seeing from, mid chest up. And so it's your hair, it's your makeup, it's, and yes, gentlemen, depending on what you do, you might need to have your nose powdered. But so talk to us about this new world where our fashion is just from our mid range up.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. I've mentioned before, I've been on a number of Zooms talking about this this topic. And what's interesting is here's the two main points that I'll bring up is one, yes, we give each other a lot of grace. Everyone knows they're working from home. There may be an animal or a child or some sort of interruption for that. But at the same time, you have to think, yes, they're going to give us grace. But what can I do to set myself apart from the competition? Right. What can I do to, in this circumstance, just try to have that little bit of extra professionalism to give them confidence that in this situation, whether I'm working from home or whatever the situation is, that I can still do the job. And I think, again, when it started, it's like, oh, everyone's figuring this out and different things. But again, it's like, don't be afraid to try to, get one up on the competition, presenting your best self. And that's lighting, that's what you wear. We discussed before, brighter colors do better on Zoom. They just look better. And I mean, trust me, I'm a designer. I live in black. I love black. I wear black all the time, but I've noticed on Zoom, to stand out in a crowd, if you are in a Zoom of 15 or 50 people, depending on what that is, lighting, simple ring light. I had bought one a long time ago for $40-50 or something. I found one recently. It was like $30 at Guitar Center that I just saw. And I was like, oh yeah, that's the one I have. I'm going to pick that up while I'm here. So just some simple things to do, paying attention to your background. And I don't want to be, anyway, a lot of people use the virtual backgrounds.
I hate virtual backgrounds. I'll put it out there. I hate them.
I feel like, what are you hiding?
And sometimes it is. I mean, like, they do the fuzzy background because maybe their office is in their bedroom.
Right.
And not everybody, and so they're not wanting to show the bed back there and those things. And that's okay. But, so many people, they either don't have a good enough internet connection or they don't have enough processor speed on their computers to be able to have a good virtual background. We're not the sportscasters, we're not the TV people, and so when you move, half your head disappears or you glow. I love the glowy ones, or the people who, I interview a lot of authors, and so they'll have the virtual background and I'll say, hold up your book, and they'll hold it up and it doesn't show, or a part. And so then they're trying to, okay, I'll hold it in front of my face and, and all of these various things. And so it's just so much easier to have, a 5-foot space, even if you're just putting, say, a screen behind you. I know some people who have done that and it works lovely. They've even hung things on the screen to make it look better, but it's pretty easy to be able to have a nice background.
And I've actually seen people that have a green square of fabric behind them, just into the wall. I'm like, okay, because then it will work. Again, it needs to either work well, or and I get that a lot of people want to put, their I had a Zoom before, they kind of basically had their business card.
Right. They want their logo. Well, you know what? My logo is here. It's printed.
I won't say I'm partial to that. I won't like beat you up too bad for virtual backgrounds, because definitely it's better than mess for sure. Yeah. But just try to be thoughtful of what that looks like, how that comes across. Make sure you're contrasting with that background if you're going to use one. I prefer real backgrounds. Just I think not having parts of your face tweaking out here and there and stuff.
I'm not going to say, I'm not going to do business with you, but I'm still going
for that. But then on the apparel and hair and things like that, like you said, it's the good news is like you only have to work with here. So find the
I don't have to put shoes on.
So find the color that looks good with your complexion. If if you're a woman, like a few accessories I think are helpful just in general. Adds a lot just for those kind of things. And then and even there's filters that will make you like,
I've got the filter on.
Those are great. It's for that. But I think generally speaking, just overall, how you present yourself, don't be afraid to go that little bit of extra mile, because it's sort of like your friends, like, of course you can show up and whatever, and your friends are still going to love you and things like that. But keep in mind, even though the lines do blur, like a lot of my clients become friends become clients just because of the nature of what I do. But don't be afraid to put that best self forward, I guess is the thing. Yeah. We've gotten so like, nobody cares, we're all doing this. But as a business owner, that little bit is going to really, I think, take you the extra mile and help give some confidence to your potential clients if they're not already a client.
Yeah. And there's other tricks. It's funny. My background way back was in media training. And so I trained people who were going to be doing interviews. And, we learned things like don't have a top on that has a really busy pattern, because a lot of times your camera can't process that. And so then you get this weird effect. Watch the jewelry, because, if you've got, say, the big dangly earrings on, or I've seen this happen with gentlemen's cufflinks, where they will catch the light and, all of a sudden they're doing things. And so, your earrings, because you just barely see them. They're an accent as opposed to, hey, look at my earrings type of thing. And it's really funny. I was interviewing a gentleman for the podcast, not too far into the pandemic. So we were all still, really, now I've been virtual forever. And so, it wasn't a big deal for me, but it was so funny because he's a financial planner. And when we think financial planners, a lot of times you think of them as, in a big part, as to how they appear. I want to see if somebody's going to be managing my money. Maybe $1,000 suit's not a bad thing. Now I'm not going to know $1,000 suit from $100 suit, but but all of those things.
And so it fits them well.
And so he and I started, we were doing our pre-chat thing, and he was in front of a gorgeous credenza. He was a very handsome man, had just, the right touches of gray. You looked at him and you went, he can manage money. But he had on a polo shirt that was logoed, it was very appropriate. And I said something about, this gets posted on YouTube, and I got deer in headlights. And he said, do we have to do that? And I said, no, it is entirely the guest's choice. And he said, no, I don't want, okay, fine. And he said, I never talk with a client if I'm not in a suit. And that was just part of his image and his persona. And so even something as casual as doing a podcast, that was just part of his image. And I thought, good for him to know that was part of who he was.
Yeah. And their personal branding and there's little things that you're associated with. Should be. And that's, I definitely feel like in general, like some of the easiest things there are so many things that you can use wardrobe as a tool with your clientele.
Right. Yeah, I know people who have, very wild glasses, and you always know, okay, they're going to have yellow or red or whatever. That's just part of, or a bow tie, right? That's just how you associate them.
Definitely.
And it really is, it is part of your branding. And I think that's what so many people forget. And it's okay to be casual. I mean, it's, but there is too casual. And it also depends on what you're doing. I mean, that gentleman who was managing money knew that people would trust him in a suit. Now, like I said, he looked perfectly fine to me. But yeah, I mean, that was just the thing. And clearly you're always going to look good because you're talking about fashion. I mean, if you came on even in a nice t-shirt, nice polo shirt, we might go, and so it is part of your brand. And so for people who are going, it doesn't matter, or it is just being vain, it does matter. And I think that's what people need to remember.
I think the biggest thing, because nobody wants to admit that your appearance matter,
Right.
I mean,
because it does seem vain and all of those things.
Yes. I mean, people know that it does, but nobody wants to say, okay, here's what you need to do. Get a new outfit, get a new wardrobe. And the way that I would say it is that what you choose to wear is a choice.
Right.
And whether you let some mannequin at the store decide for you, somebody gave it, whatever that is, somehow somebody chose that outfit and it came home with you.
Right.
So however that happened.
Yeah, it got into your closet.
Got into your closet. And so even people that, I mean, it's like the devil wears Prada, not choosing is a choice. And I think people underestimate the tool they have at their fingertips to, because it's nonverbal communication.
Right.
And people can't help but, so when they say like, oh, judge them by their appearance, people can't help that they're nonverbally, I'm sorry, they're subconsciously processing that, because when they meet you, everything, they're trying to figure out, how does this person fit into my life? How does this person, what are they telling me? The words they're saying to me, is that congruent with what I'm subconsciously.
And visually really is our very first impression.
Definitely. And I mean, a lot of my clients that are women business owners, that especially if there's any kind of creativity in their job, their wardrobe tells their clients, you can trust me. You can trust me to have good taste. You can trust me to have good decisions. I'm going to bring you a quality product. And that's subconscious, because, and I know myself, I have the hardest time when I have people that come and say, hey, like, I'd love to be a makeup artist on your next shoot. If I don't like their makeup, I'm like, they might be the best makeup artist in the world, and I am so sorry, but I don't trust you to have good taste, because you chose that god-awful color that you're wearing. And I would never tell them that to their face, but it subconsciously, so there's so many jobs, so many things that it's like, if I don't know you have good taste, you might be able to get the job done, but that makes it so much more work for me to create, versus if I find someone, especially a creative, that already, they already have good taste. They can see, that photographer can see the good lighting. They can see the good pose. I don't have to micromanage everything to get the shot I want. If I can find those other creatives that I trust they have good taste, and I know they always deliver a superior product, then it's easy. But if I'm like, everything
and because we have so many other choices. I mean, that's the thing, is if there's one little thing, we're going to go to our next choice. And we've all seen bad examples of people. Years ago, we were interviewing this young woman, and she was young. I mean, I'm not even sure she was 21. So she was very young. It was, kind of an assistant position in a company I was working for. And, she wasn't going to get the job. Aside from anything else, her resume had typos. I mean, there was just a lot of things. But I pulled her aside afterwards and I said, can I help you with some advice? And at that point I was still, I was already probably old enough to be her mother. But, I told her, I said, okay, we need to, and she said yes, because, she really, and so I tried to be very careful. I didn't want to offend her or hurt her feelings, but like she had a suit on, which was great. She knew to wear a suit for this. It fit horribly. It was way too small for her. She was a large girl. She was tall, she was curvy, and it was probably 2 sizes too small. And so, she spent the whole time pulling her top up, because we were about to, show the world what you didn't want to see. And then her skirt was also so short that she was very self-conscious about that. And of course, what happened was, the second she'd pull her top up or pull her skirt down, that's where your focus went. And all of those things. And she said, but I can't afford it. And I said, I know that, darling. And I said, I'm not telling you need to go spend $500 at Macy's on a suit. There's consignment stores. There's Goodwill. I mean, a lot of times you can find some pieces that are perfect for what you're wanting at that point that aren't going to cost you a fortune.
Definitely. And I've had a similar experience. I was at a women's luncheon not too long ago. And again, you feel bad, Judge. I mean, I'm always looking at people's wardrobes because I want to see, like, what are people wearing? What do they? It's just strictly from a research standpoint. It's like, what do people wear?
What's the trends?
What did they choose to wear? Because I need to make sure that I have the offerings in line with what they need and everything. And I'm sitting at this table of a group of women, and I didn't know any of them. I had a guest that she was running behind, and so I'm sitting, I'm just looking, I'm watching, they're talking to each other. They said hi, they were talking to me as well. But I'm just like observing, and I'm looking, I'm like, did I get set at the intern table? Like, what is happening here? Because I'm kind of looking across the room, and I'm like, why? Just kind of ill-fitting, just rolled out of the bargain bin. It's raw, again, nothing wrong with it, but just, and as I start talking to these women, Harvard graduate, attorney for Toyota, starting a nonprofit, women business owner, women. One of them was a custom designer, sort of. I won't go there. But hers are like a little home sewn. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, ladies. And I'm thinking to and again, it's like how to say this, but so much talent and accomplishment and things they're working on. I mean, just an impressive group of ladies that I was sitting there talking to, and they were, ambitious and all the things they're doing. And it's like, until someone finds that out about you, you look like the intern, that like the lady you described. And it's like, okay, help yourself out, be taken seriously, be given credit for your accolades. I mean, like I said, these were accomplished women. And that's what I want is for, again, these women that I know, it's like, people judge so much before they get to talk to you. So
and whether we like it or not, that's the way it is.
I can't change how the world is and how our brains process and how they see you. And so that's the thing too, that it's like, wardrobe can be such a tool to elevate you beyond what your actual accomplishments are. It's like,
oh yeah. I mean, there are times where I've been like, oh my gosh, because, a gentleman or a lady, they just look so incredibly impressive. I mean, a man with a nice suit, cufflinks, polished shoes. I mean, let's remember everything. I mean, you go head to toe and you get down, their shoes are dirty and you're like, okay. But yeah, I mean, there are times where that first impression is, holy cow. And is it a shortcoming on my, could be, but we all do it.
Yeah, you can't help it. Again, your brain subconsciously is processing, how does this person fit into my world? Is this somebody I want to know? And the good thing is that you can have clothes that fit you. Like I said, whether you found them at Goodwill or a consignment shop or have them custom made, like there's so many choices of clothing out there. I always say first thing is style, next thing is fabric. Like again, the better fabric, you can just wear it.
Right, because fabric lays differently on you. It does different things.
Definitely. And then of course, fit. You want it to fit properly. And the biggest thing, like, what did you say about your interns pulling and fishing? The clothes fit properly and you're confident. You love that you feel, you feel like I'm wearing the exact right outfit for this occasion. And you can show up and do whatever it is you're there to do. And whether that's dinner with your family, whether that's a board meeting or a business opportunity or any of those things, that pulling and touching everything.
Yeah, even the too small, the too short, the whatever. Yeah,
distracting for them, it's distracting for you, and you don't get to put your full self out because you're self-conscious. And I'm sure you have put on an outfit before that you feel like $1 million, and your demeanor is different. You're beamy, and I always tell people, I have a lot of interior designer clients that it's like, your wardrobe is just like as an interior designer, like, is that extravagant? to have a beautiful place to live or work and have things decorated, maybe, but it is a quality of life thing. When you have a beautiful environment, you perform better, you feel better, and your wardrobe is part of your environment and how you feel. And again, it's a tool. I feel like it's a tool of empowerment that just for being intentional about it and intentionally communicating, you can really, again, it's just a powerful tool.
Right.
For that.
Yeah. And you mentioned fit. Fit really is, and especially for women. I mean, and we all have different shapes, sizes, all those things. And I remember one time I went to, this was a major conference. It was really, really important. And a lot of men, and it was just, it was dealing with construction work, but very high. I mean, it was hard to explain, but anyhow, there were all these men there, and the presenter was an engineer with the state. I mean, all of these things. And she knew what she was talking about. I mean, this woman was sharp. She knew what she was doing. But every time she raised her arm to point, her top showed a good 2 or 3 inches of her little tummy. And bless her, she hadn't done sit-ups in a really long time. And the first time she did it, nobody does anything. Second time she did it, you start to have the giggles, right? And third and fourth time she has no idea what's going on because, she put her arm down, her top would go back down. She didn't know she was basically flashing all of us. Then, and this was mortifying. And I still can't believe that somebody did this. They went on stage and they told her. And, I mean, you could see that was the end of her presentation. And now what she did was she buttoned her jacket. I mean, and so that solved the problem. But yeah, it was one of those things because it got distracting. The more you started waiting for it, oh, look, she's going to raise her arm again. And so, I tell people, know what you're going to be doing throughout the day. If you're going to be gesturing, if you're going to be for women, if you're going to be bending over, let's not be showing the girls. I mean, and it's just, simple things. But again, it's just, it is, we do judge people by it. And whether it's right, whether it's wrong, it's just what happens.
Yeah. I always love, one thing is when you think about who are you dressing for? I always say, I was like, women, we dress for other women a lot of times, especially in the workplace. Sometimes, I want an outfit that I feel like my peers are going to appreciate because let's face it, a lot of more fashionable outfit, other women are the only ones that appreciate it.
The guys are like,
there's so many trendy type things that aren't as beautiful as some traditional things. And so that's the other thing. It's like, or are you dressing for a date or your husband or something?
Right.
I'm going to wear, a thinner heel on a date with my husband than if I'm dressing for the girls. And we have that chunky, cute shoe that
yeah, those sandals that everybody's going to die for.
Like certain things that are edgier or funkier that aren't necessarily as feminine or sexy. So again, it's who's your target market, or for the day, for the event, for the occasion. And that's the thing that I love about fashion that's so powerful is that every little detail that we choose, it's communicates something. It's we can make it, artsy, edgy, more sensual. How are you wanting to show yourself more feminine or more I'm in charge, I'm the power boss. There's all of these details and they all subconsciously communicate. And it's just so powerful that, again, just using it intentionally. It's a tool in your tool belt to use intentionally.
Yeah. One of the things I do, I work with people on LinkedIn and their pictures. Oh my gosh. Their pictures just drive me to distraction on LinkedIn because, there are those that have headshots. Well, they're all headshots, right? But, even when you have them professionally done, it's not, but I was talking to a gentleman one time and I told him, I said, and he had asked me, I never volunteer. I mean, it's like you're not going to go up and go, oh, honey, no. He had said, look through my LinkedIn profile. And I said, okay, you need a different picture. And why? And I said, because first of all, it's a nice picture, but I can tell it's your wedding picture. Because he picked his favorite photo, right? He was, that was the happiest day of his life. I mean, all of these things. And he said, well, how'd you know it was my wedding picture? I said, because men don't wear white silk ties. Anyway, oh, and I said, but more importantly, you never, ever, ever, ever wear a suit anywhere. Because what he did, he wore the polo shirts that were logoed. And I said, it's okay to have that as your LinkedIn picture. Because again, there's that mismatch. I mean, if I see somebody's picture and they're in a suit, I'm thinking, is he going to be able to come do this work? And so I tell people, kind of match, but I also, it drives me nuts when I look at somebody's LinkedIn picture and they've edited out somebody else. And I love the floating hands. Those are always really fun, because somebody's got their arm around them, and so there's the floating hand. Or yeah, it's like, man, there's no amount of photoshopping that can get rid of that, right? And you can only cut so close. Or they have a background that is so busy that it's distracting, or all of these things. And I tell people, again, you need to understand it's the first impression, and hello. It better be current, and of course for women, that we were talking about this before, we change our hair colors, we change our hairstyles, sometimes, daily, but it needs to be current. I don't want to look at somebody's LinkedIn picture and know it's 20 years old, because then I'm thinking, have they kept up with the business world? Especially because it's so easy anymore to get a picture that is suitable for LinkedIn. Your phone will take it. No selfies, no. But yeah, and because you can't get the angle right on a selfie, so we're going to be looking down, looking up, whatever, no, have somebody else take your picture, have that nice background, all of those things, because it's the first impression. And the really worst offenders are those that have no picture at all for whatever reason. And I'm like, no.
Or a dog or whatever.
Yeah. I'm going, or they have their logo. I'm like, no, this is your personal LinkedIn page. Do not have, I want to see you because I'm doing business or wanting to connect with you, not your logo, not any of those things. And yeah, first impressions, it until, started with, caveman all the way to whenever, first impressions are still going to be, that look, and how do you want people to think about you?
It's interesting. I read a thing a while back, and it was talking about when you introduce yourself to somebody, they say, don't say your name first. Mm-hmm. They say, wait about 2 minutes to that, because they say the first 2 minutes, their brain will not retain that information, because your brain is so busy subconsciously placing, who is this person? Where do they belong in my life? Do they belong in my life? There's so much subconscious brain work that is going on in those first.
Interesting.
And I've always remembered, because I'm the worst at names. People be like, hi. And 3 seconds later, I've just got to where I ask again. I'm like, yeah, no, you told me this 1 minute ago. What is your name? Because I'm the worst. But when I read this, I was like, that makes so much sense. Your brain is like, who is this person? Why are they, and this.
Well, you're even trying to decide if you want to have further conversation with them.
Yeah. So there's all of these things, but again, your brain is subconsciously, nobody's saying like, I'm going to critique their outfit, but subconsciously they're like, how do they get this? I am so sorry.
Oh, we love it. Wait. Okay. Bring her on camera.
Okay. Come here, Scarlett.
Hello, my darling. How are you? See, this is what because I think it's so important for our kids to see this is what mommy does, and so she's just absolutely precious.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to, James, can you take her? Okay. Hold on one second.
She's just going to participate, and that's okay. But yeah, I mean, I love that we are thinking, because I'm like you, I'm not really good with names. And so, and that may be it, is I am processing all of these other things about them before it even gets to what's your name. And so, to be able to remind somebody later on in the conversation, what your name is, maybe that's the point where you hand in the business card or whatever. So that way you can really focus on them. But I love that. I love not really saying your name until you get a little bit further on in the conversation.
Yeah. I think it makes a big difference. And really, it just points out to me because what is going on in that 2 minutes before.
Right. And we're, I think it is, you know, I mean, just think about what we're doing. They've walked up and you're thinking, okay, they interrupted us, or when is dinner, or, all of those other things that are going on in our brains to really be able to function. She's just gonna wave at me. Bye, sweetie. Okay, so that was such a delight to see your daughter because that is part of who we are now, right? We're working from home. We've got these kids, and you know what? It's just going to happen. I tell people I can't lock my cats out because I'd have this, but they never get on my desk. It's the funniest thing in the world. But yeah, it is those impressions that we get of people that truly show us, do we want to work with them more? Do we want to introduce them? All of those things. And I'm the first to admit that, especially because of the pandemic, I've gotten incredibly lazy with how I look. I've got the polo shirt on where the collar's just not going to behave, and all of these things. And it's really pretty simple to have taken care of that. I mean, I could have just had a different top on. I could have had, a little piece of jewelry. And now here's my trick. I've got some of these things. You're going to love this. And so right over here on my thing, because a lot of times I wear t-shirts. I mean, I'm just going to sit here and wear a t-shirt. But if I want to jazz it up, I've got these necklaces that I can just add. And, it's not quite so obvious, I hope, that I'm wearing a t-shirt. Or scarves. I've got a basket of scarves that are behind me. You can't do them in the summer because we're going to suffocate. But I will put a scarf on, and then I hope, like I said, that I have just increased how I'm looking when I'm online.
Definitely makes a big difference, those little details.
Yep. Yep. And it really is, it's something that, we can have that little bit of control over. There's so many things that we don't have control over. So why not have control about how you look?
Definitely. And that's the thing. And like I said, it's that intentional choice, and just think, like, who do you want to be? One of my favorite marketing campaigns, I think it was for Omega watches or something. It was like Cindy Crawford and whoever the James Bond person was saying, who will you be in the next 24 hours? And I just love that, because that's the tool that wardrobe is. Think of movie producers, all this stuff. They have wardrobe people because they're creating character.
Right. And it is something where, how we are looking, it is really putting us in our best, putting our best face forward, or not putting our best face forward. It really is one of those things. So we've only got about 5 minutes left. And so I really want you to tell people, what are the services that you provide, and then how they can connect with you.
Great. Well, thank you. I design a collection that can be purchased, extra small to extra large, but again, we will do custom. So we can, and whether that's customizing just to your size, customizing the features and details of the garments, or completely just starting from scratch, saying, hey, I have this idea, this is my vision. I would love to co-create with people and bring that to life. And again, I take kind of people's ideas and put them through a designer's lens so that it turns out better than you would have imagined for that. And yeah, my website is sarahjones.shop. And
you've got beautiful pieces on there. I mean, they're just absolutely gorgeous, at very reasonable prices.
We tried to keep, doing it direct to consumer. We really want that customization piece to be kind of fit into what a normal retail price would be for the garments. We try as much as possible to keep that in, but keep the quality high. And like I said, everything is cut and sewn here in Dallas, Texas. So
I love that, because that's actually very important to a lot of people.
Yeah. So I really like that. I mean, I mean, my sewing contractors and everyone, they're grateful for the work and the job. And again, and I do think more and more just having that, I mean, I pay them well for that. Like everything's just getting more and more expensive for that. So I think they're appreciative for that living wage type compensation. But yes, I would love anybody that wants to co-create, or if they take a look at the collection or are interested, I would love to speak with anybody about that. And also, I'm always willing to do a little 30-minute design consultation, complimentary for anybody. So even if they're just wanting to know whether they're interested in the collection, or if they really want, hey, here's my problem area, or here's what I want to do, what do you suggest, what type of styles would flatter my body type. I'm always interested in helping women empower themselves to be more intentional about their wardrobe and communicate how they want to communicate.
Right. Yeah, because we all are different shaped. And the thing we also need to remember is that shape changes as we change. Whether it's you've had children, you've aged, I mean, all of these things, I don't look like I did when I was 20. And yeah, so it's just things that have changed, and it is, you mentioned it before, when you put on something and you look good, you walk different, you talk different. I mean, it's just all of those things that come with it. And maybe it's your sometimes it's your most comfy t-shirt, depending on what the situation is. Then that's perfectly fine. But yeah, it's, we really do. I think it's more important when we look at the opposite, when we're wondering, how do I look? Then, we might not be the first person to speak out. We might stand back, in the crowd. I mean, all of those various things. And it really is pretty simple to take care of that.
Yes, I agree. So I want everyone to feel like $1 million when they walk out of the house, and again, be there to be present to for what they want to do. Like they're there for some reason, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, that should be their focus, not I hope I'm wearing the right outfit. So
yeah. Well, this really has been absolutely delightful. And I love talking with you. I think we need to continue this conversation because it is, it is something that I think is very important to folks. And so, but until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
I would just say, dress how you want to feel. Use that wardrobe tool to empower how you want to be seen and how you want to feel when you go out. And just think of it as, who will you be when you're going this place? And I think, and again, I think that actually brings the most authenticity, because you can be intentional about what is inside and help bring that outside.
I love it. Well, I have been having so much fun talking with Sarah Jones Thomas. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.